Chapter 6, Seeing in the Spirit with Physical Eyes, Part 1. Before we dive into this section, I would like to say a quick prayer in the context of the reader, but please feel free to put it in your own words. Lord Jesus, I come to you and acknowledge you as Creator and King of all things. I acknowledge that there is a counterfeit to this sort of practice, and as a result, I ask that you help guide and keep me on the path of authentic only. I now cover the practice of these things in your blood to ensure I am entering through you and for your glory. I invite you to come on this journey, on this fun journey with me, and to help open my eyes to see in the way you would have me to see. Thank you, loving Lord Jesus. Amen. More ways to see. Hey, you made it. Welcome to Chapter 6. Glad you decided to come. So in this chapter, I would like to go over a few methods to see into the spiritual realm with your physical eyes. All the techniques I give you are based upon my actual experience. So these tools are not speculation, but have actively worked for me. I have taught many of these techniques to people in person and over the internet, and almost all of them get activated to see. Okay, so let's talk about a few methods of seeing. Thus far, you have seen from your imagination, your mind's eye, the back of your eyelid, dreams and open interactive visions. The new techniques I present are based upon your ability to, at will, use your eyes in certain ways to be able to see various things within the spiritual realm. You might be thinking, Rich, what on earth are you talking about when you say techniques with your eyes? I'm glad you asked. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you up front so you know what to expect, and then I think I'll spend some time explaining what it is that you are seeing. Okay, the first thing I'll show you how to see is the glow of your own spirit and soul that is always around you. Once you are activated in this, you will be able to see it around other people and objects as well. This will train your eyes in the first phase of being able to spiritually see. Now, just to let you know, there is a type of technology known as Kirlian photography that will show you in real time the same glow that I will show you in my activations. The glowing color you see with this technology dynamically changes according to your current emotional state. And so if you change your emotion, it will be displayed on the screen on the fly. It is rather expensive, but nevertheless, this technology does actually allow you to see the confirmation that the energy field around people and objects is indeed real. Here's the current website for your reference, should you desire to check it out. And please note that since this is a book, you could be reading it 30 years later and the website might not exist, but currently it does. It is http://interactive.com. That's INERACTIVE.com/energy. The next thing I plan to teach is showing you how to look into the spiritual realm with your naked eye upon what I like to call the canvas of creation. Another way to say it is that the dimension of the spiritual realm is quite literally superimposed right over the physical realm, and the construct that makes it up as such can quite literally be seen with the naked eye. The next step will be to observe the canvas of creation, to observe differences and movements and such that can and will lead to being able to see the angelic and also the demonic. This phase of seeing into the spiritual realm is likened to your eyes opening up a tiny bit to see. Then I'll move into some techniques to be able to fully have your spiritual eyes open, to be able to see into the spiritual realm with your physical eyes. And still in another chapter, I will go even deeper than this for other types of seeing. Now, for some, this type of seeing can take time, and for others, by faith, it could happen in an instant. The spiritual realm, intro. Okay, this subject goes so deep. I am no scientist or physicist, but I feel like I have a solid grip about the concept of the mechanics of the spiritual realm. And as a result, I feel privileged to deliver my humble 2 cents. With my own research, I have discovered what makes sense to me of what the spiritual realm actually is. Anytime you hear me say a statement that declares it as truth, please remember it is true according to what I believe. So to me, it is truth, and so I will likely declare it as such. Please do keep in mind that I respect everybody else's views. I personally enjoy knowing how things work from A to Z, and so out of curiosity, I thought it would be fun to understand more about what I'm venturing into. And so in case there are others with that same type of curiosity, I thought about you and decided to include it in the book. All right, let's jump right in. We have both a physical realm and a spiritual realm. Both of these realms overlap each other. The physical realm can be seen with the naked eye, where the spiritual realm can sometimes be seen with the naked eye. But more often than not, it cannot be seen unless certain areas of our spiritual eyes are opened, at which time the frequency of seeing might be intermittent or even permanent, with the ability to switch between the two at will. I am believing by faith that everybody who reads this book will permanently have their spiritual eyes opened to the glory of God the Father. Now, one might ask, what do you mean when you say certain areas of your eyes being opened? Well, from one standpoint, it could be likened to onion layers being peeled away from your physical and spiritual eyes. And as each layer is removed, you are then allowed to see more and more from another standpoint. And this is a huge key to understand this stuff. You could think of it like existing on a scale of frequencies that you can switch between, just like changing radio stations. The spiritual realm frequencies. All right, let's talk about frequencies for a moment. Consider a radio that produces sound waves that you can hear, but you cannot see. If a person was living during a time when radios were not invented, and somebody came and told them that radio waves are real, they would probably look at that person like they were crazy. The reason why they would think this is because they have not heard the sounds with their own ears or seen them with their own eyes. And as a result, they come to the conclusion that it is not true. So from the standpoint of our current age we live in, even though they would have called it untrue, we now know it is true, because we now have the tools to prove that radio waves can be picked up and listened to, and even broadcasted on. Now, in all humility, I ask you this question. If radio waves were untrue for them back then, but true for us now, what then will the outcome of your perspective concerning what I share about the unseen spiritual realm be? I'm only asking you this open-ended question for the purpose of sparking the fire of possibility inside of the hearts of those who are slowly taking cautious steps back. Some of the stuff I'm going to cover now is going to enter into another depth of what would otherwise be considered crazyville. But even so, I ask that you would give what I have to say a chance. It warms my heart knowing you decided to give me a chance. I appreciate you. Let's jump in then and see how deep the rabbit hole goes. All right, so we have talked about sound waves that cannot be heard unless we have technology to hear it. Another angle to consider concerning sound waves is a dog whistle. Humans cannot hear its full tone, but dogs can. And so just because we cannot hear it does not make it any less real. Since dogs can hear the whistle more clear than humans, this tells me that God gave varying levels of tuning on specific portions of a scale for humans to pick up on, and still another for dogs to pick up on. The sounds that take place are on the same infinite scale, but the ability for the dog versus the human to pick up on those frequencies is different by God's own design. Since this is proven to be true, how much more the infinite frequencies of all the senses and even beyond this? Humans have been granted about 1% access to the 100% whole. It takes an elevation of consciousness to activate the ability to pick up on more. You are created in the image of God, and because of this, you can pick up on every frequency in the infinite spectrum of created light. It is okay if this does not yet make sense. The further you read, the more clarity will come. So now we have covered sound and discovered that because we cannot hear the dog whistle, it does not make that sound any less real. The next question is, does the same concept also ring true for the varying levels of sight? Let's consider X-rays of light. Although we cannot see them, they still exist. If you are in a hospital room receiving an X-ray, then you know for certain that although you cannot see the light of the X-rays, that it does not make them any less real. So why am I talking about frequencies that can be seen and heard with technology, but cannot be seen or heard with our normal ears or eyes? I am sharing this to stretch and help you to come to the realization that the spiritual realm likewise operates at certain frequencies. One might ask, okay, Rich, so are you telling me that sound waves and X-rays are portions of the actual spiritual realm? Good question. And for now, I'm going to say no, based upon the perspective of normal scientific understanding that although without the necessary technology, we cannot see these frequencies with our naked eye or hear them with our ears. But from the perspective of what I will soon show you within this chapter, I will slowly change my mind based upon certain aspects that are made known to switch my answer from a no to a yes. Yes, according to my personal belief, the physical and spiritual realms are both indeed spiritual. As we continue, I will unfold this mystery to the best of my ability with lots of detail while maintaining utmost simplicity. All right, let's talk a bit about the electromagnetic spectrum. The visible light you see on the scale is super small and contains all the various colors in the rainbow. Each color resonates at its own frequency. Further down on the scale, you have frequencies such as infrared, microwave, and radio waves. Further up the scale, you have X-rays and gamma rays. Now, the electromagnetic scale travels infinitely in both directions. On each part of the scale, there is a unique frequency. Everything you know about in all creation resonates at a specific frequency. For example, there are frequencies for all matter, including atoms, water, fire, animals, nature, thought, emotions, places, people, sight, hearing, smell, touch, taste, sound, light, the voice of the Holy Spirit, tempting thoughts, the angelic, Jesus himself, the demonic, heaven, hell, you name it. Every frequency is a plane of existence, a layer, if you will, that resonates at a unique frequency. The spiritual realm, how does it tie into the physical realm? I appreciate and thank you for sticking with me through this, and I promise I'm bringing us closer to my version of what I feel the spiritual realm actually is. Let's take, for example, a single grain of sand. If you were to place this grain of sand under an electron microscope, you would then be able to see the atoms that make up this grain of sand. What happens if you zoom in closer? Well, you will see the atom's nucleus. And if you zoom in closer still, you will see subatomic particles. Closer still, you will see what scientists call strings or superstrings. Okay, now to give you more of a visual on what a frequency looks like, let's imagine that these strings are like the lines on a heart monitor that fluctuate up and down, or more specifically, like what you would see displayed on an oscilloscope. Now, superstrings are continually moving, and anything that moves creates a vibrational frequency, and vibrational frequencies produce sound. Now, if we look closer at a superstring, we will eventually end up at photons of light. It has been discovered that photons flash in and out of visible existence every 10th of a nanosecond. To help you get a visual on what is going on here, let's take your monitor or phone screen, for example. The display you see in front of you is because of hundreds of pixels. A pixel is a very small light that rapidly flashes on and off, which draws out patterns of light that form and project all the things you see displayed on your screen. All right, so let's expand our perspective from not only a television screen, but now let's imagine that all the space around you is flashing pixels. A great way to get a visual grasp on this is if you have had experience looking through virtual reality goggles. That gives a pretty clear, concise experience, because when you are wearing them, you feel with your eyes like you are actually there. Okay, now, with that said, we can conclude that if those photons flashed out of existence completely, they would not be able to return back to existence. So where are they going? My conclusion is that because God created all things, and by him all things hold together, that they are entering into his spiritual realm of existence, and they go out of sight and become invisible because the frequency they are operating at is higher than what our current technology supports. Remember, invisible is only a limitation of sight to the one beholding what they are looking at. God can see all things, and he has granted us the ability to also see in this way. And we can choose to tune into it or focus on various aspects of this type of sight to be able to see. See, when God created all things, he used a set of building blocks much like Legos, cosmic super Legos, if you will. Feel free to consider these scriptures. Colossians 1:16 through 17. For in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. John 1:3 through 4. Through him all things were made, and without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. Okay, so since God created things both visible and invisible, my conclusion thus far is that these photons of light are not flashing out of existence, quote, quote, but instead they are moving to a frequency that is beyond our available sight, which is the direct entry into the spiritual realm where God himself dwells. Since all things are held together by God, and he is all things, we can say that the resonating sound from the vibration of all created frequency, both physical and spiritual, visible and invisible, are held together by the continual beautiful song that God sings over his creation, flowing up from his infinite heart of love. So in essence, if you take anything of physical matter and look close enough at it, you will indeed end up at flashing photons of light that lead right into the spiritual realm. You can literally start anywhere, and if you choose to keep going deeper and deeper, you will always eventually end up back at the source. God is the source. He is the all-consuming fire as the creator himself. Even time itself is a creation, because God stands outside of time and eternity, where there is no change. Isaiah 57:15, for thus saith the high and the lofty one, who inhabiteth eternity, whose name is holy. From God's perspective, inside the realm of eternity, the rules of past, present, and future do not apply. Because of this, I believe time itself is a creation. He knows the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end. Because of this, there is a difference between him being the all-consuming fire and source of light as creator in comparison to the lesser created light of all creation. In eternity, God had a massive and awesome thought that contained everything that has, is, and will ever happen. He saw what he was thinking and his infinite mind was good, at which time his thought dropped into his heart and exploded with compassion as his love rose up from his heart like a geyser to the outflow of his mouth, speaking with creative power, the most powerful vibrational frequency of sound, let there be light. Having said all this, my personal conclusion is that the source of everything is spiritual and leads out to the created physical, which to me is actually still spiritual, since every photon is continually flashing in and out of the spiritual realm every 10th of a nanosecond. So it is not leaving existence, and it is not actually invisible. It is just changing frequencies that move up and down the scale. When it is in the range of the physical realm, it can be seen in this realm. And when it moves into the range of the spiritual realm, to us, it seems like it disappeared, but it really did not. It just moved to a position on the scale that we cannot see by default. I suppose you could say that when a frequency of spirit is vibrating to visible sight in the physical realm, it could be considered as physical matter at that point. But that is only because we can see it. The source of what it actually is still spiritual in nature. The slower the vibration, the more dense it becomes. Another thing that scientists have discovered is that every true, actual physical piece of matter in all the universe would be able to fit on the tip of a pin. which means that everything is all open space. If you zoom in on a piece of physical matter, as we said before, it is a huge open universe of space that leads to light, that leads to spirit. Having said this, I have personally concluded that everything both spiritual and what is otherwise considered to be physical is indeed spiritual. It is mind-blowing to me, but that is what has been discovered. As a result, since we are spiritual beings, we have access to the spiritual realms. Even beyond this, we are made in the image of God. We are not created light. We are instead a part of the creator of light. We are part of Jesus as his body. So everything in all creation resonates at a specific frequency, and all of those frequencies are accessible to one who has the qualifying properties and authority over them. Since we are made in God's image, we have and are exactly that. This authority was lost at the fall and taken back at the resurrection of Jesus Christ. I won't go in deeper on this. I might write another book about it sometime though. So now to answer the big question, what is the spiritual realm? The spiritual realm is a collection of infinite frequencies, planes of existence, if you will, that exist and operate in a superimposed, invisible fashion over the physical realm. Gaining access to these infinite frequencies of the spiritual realm is all about us learning to tune into them by faith. Focus on the love of Jesus is always first and foremost. So now that you have an understanding on my perspective of frequency, I would like to now show you how to switch between these frequencies in order to see with the varying levels of spiritual sight. The red circle. Okay, so one day as I was surfing through the Facebook news feed, I saw a post with a red circle and a word that was embedded inside the circle that was almost the same shade of red. And the challenge was to guess what the word is. I thought, why not? I'll give it a shot. As I was looking at it, I found the word that was hidden inside, but as I kept staring, something else started to show up. Okay, now before I proceed any further, I would like to show you I would like to I need to fix that. I would like to give you a chance to look at this red ball. All right, I'm gonna scroll. I'll show it to you once the screen comes up. Now I have shared this technique with over 100 people so far, over 100 people so far, and about 99% of them got it right when following the instructions I gave them. Okay, now it's your turn. One thing, if you are outside and the sun is reflecting off of your device, it might be hard to see it. So it's best if you try this indoors. Okay, now I would like you to look either at the center of the circle or to the outer edge. Actually, I'm gonna show you guys the circle really quick. And there's the circle. Let me go back. Oops. Okay, so now I would like you to look either at the center of the circle or to the outer edge of the circle where the red meets the white. As you look at this, I would ask you to try to calm your thoughts and sort of zone out. Zone out in such a way that you are super relaxed and technically not really paying attention to any of the red or the white. You're looking at it, but with no focus with the muscles in your eyes. So in a way, you're looking and aware of what is in front of you, but you are not thinking any thoughts about it. Now, shift your awareness to allow anything to show up around the edges of the circle. Oh, one more thing, if you blink, you will lose what you were intending to see. But that is okay. Just keep your eyes open and relax them as you zone out on the circle. Okay, go ahead and give it a try. Okay, did you see anything? And remember, you guys can always ask for the book too. And I can send you varying other circles too. Like if you get this color correct, I'll send you some other ones, and you can tell me what you see, and then I'll tell you if you're correct or not. So we can ensure that that activation has taken place. That way you'll be ready for the next step of seeing. Okay, did you see anything? Some people say they can see a faint grayish glow, and although it is true that you can see this portion of it, that is not what we are looking for. Others have said they see a sort of pinkish color around it. And while that can be true too, it is not what we are looking for either. What we are looking for is a very vibrant neon glowing light blue like smoke. It is incredibly beautiful, and it moves around too. You can literally watch it spin around the circle, and you can also see the glow around the circle expand and retract like it is breathing. I have found that if I place my focus on the open white area away from the circle, a huge chunk of this blue cloud-like color shows up. Where if I look at the red part but keep my awareness to the outer edges, a blue outline glow about 1 millimeter thick at first will show up and glow really, really bright. Once you see this, you will be amazed at what you see. Now, as you are looking, if you think, quote, quote, you see it, but you're not sure yet, that is a direct indication that you have not yet seen it. Once you see it, you will know for sure because it gets so bright and so beautiful. Also, once you get this down, you'll be able to see the colors for several other colored circles as well. Feel free to email me and I'll send them to you. Or at some point, I'll put up a website for you to see them and such. Once you see the other colored circles, you could send me the glowing colors that show up, and I'll let you know if you are right or not. I am 100% positive that you will see this. There was one lady who could not see it until she slowed her thoughts down. I gave her the movie theater analogy from chapter 2, and about a minute after applying it, she was able to see. So rapid thoughts and bright sunlight make it hard to see. Beyond that, just relax your vision and you should see it with no problem. Enjoy. Oh, and by the way, congratulations. You just entered into the first step of being able to see into the spiritual realm. This activation will unlock your ability to see glows around people, objects, and nature, and it is a step forward to being able to see the angelic. The square tiles. Okay, now sometimes when you look at a light, you can relax your eyes in such a way to create what looks like another copy of that light. Now, I'm not talking about the smoke-like residue after staring into a bright light and looking at it floating in the air. What I'm talking about right now is when you stare at it without taking your focus off of it, but still playing with crossing your eyes in certain ways to create duplicates that can be expanded away from each other or merge back into each other. Okay, now, with that being said, since you know how to do that sort of movement with your eyes, I would now invite you to take a look at this image of some square tiles, which are likened to wall tiles. As you look at it, stare into the middle of a tile so the lines are either side of the tile, or on either side of the tile, are set to be on the left and right side of your visual awareness. Now use the same technique with your eyes to try to draw the two lines together as one. At this time, you will have switched from seeing 6 tiles to instead seeing 8 tiles. Once this happens, keep your eyes open and try your best to hold your eye muscles in this position without moving them. And in a few seconds, everything will start to get more clear and stand out in high definition. Keep staring, and quite literally, what will happen is the tile itself will become holographic and really huge. It will be about 3 times larger than normally looking at it. You will be able to see the intricate details of the tile stand out way more than if you were normally looking at it. Now, if you are standing in front of actual tiles about a foot away and leaning forward and backwards slowly while doing the previously stated practice with your eyes, you will see the holographic expansion come toward you for you to zoom in on. However, if you are looking at this picture sitting a little more than a foot away, once you lock onto the 8 tiles, if you use your eye muscles with an intention to get more clarity by zooming in, the image of 8 tiles will not come forward, but actually go backward in a holographic view. When it comes back, it looks and feels like it actually moves back about a foot. It is really cool looking. And with enough practice, you can switch your focus between these views with a single thought. I'm not sure if it will work as well on paper as it does in real life. I have had this work by staring at anything that has divided tiles and such. So you can try it on anything that has that type of structure. And it works best when your head is less than a foot away. Sometimes slowly moving your head toward it and away from it helps too. Oh, one more thing. I tested this actual image you are looking at and was able to reproduce the level of sight that I just explained. So it works just as equally as looking at actual physical wall tiles. Okay, I now invite you to go ahead and give it a shot. Here is the image. Not very good photography. That's what it is. You can easily duplicate it in Paint or ask me for the book and I'll give it to you for free. Now, I'm not sure if this is spiritual, although I am pretty sure that it is, because with this type of gaze, I have been able to see other spiritual things. So this is more of a practice to help train your eyes on how to see. And of course, to have fun with looking at these things from a three-dimensional holographic standpoint. Sometimes when I do look into the spirit realm with physical eyes, I can see this holographic nature with the added quality of translucent spiritual realities superimposed directly on top of this physical realm. So this exercise will give you an idea of what this type of spiritual sight will look like. All right, on to the next step to give this stuff a tad bit more reality. The glow around your hand. Okay, it is time to take a look at your hand. I know you might be thinking, Rich, I look at my hand every day. Give me a second. I will check that out after I'm done reading this chapter. Okay, it is time to take a look at your hand. I know you might be thinking, Rich, I look at my hand every day. What do you suppose you're going to show me about it that I don't already know? Well, that is a great question and I intend to answer it in detail. Okay, let's have some fun. The first thing to do is get the proper setting to be able to easily focus on what we are attempting to see. I would say to turn the lights down dim a bit, not too dark, not too light, but more light than dark. Okay, now try to find a solid background like a wall or maybe a piece of construction paper. Dark gray, black, or even white should work out pretty well. Sometimes I turn my monitor screen off and I use that black background. The idea is to make it to where you can look at your hand with that flat color in the background to try to keep lighting reflections and shadows out as much as possible. Once you have the setting ready, we can begin the exercise. Okay, so extend your arm out in front of you so that it is between you and the background. Change positions really quick. Distance doesn't seem to matter, just as long as the background has hardly any shadows or reflections of light. Okay, hold up your hand in front of your face with your elbow slightly bent. Spread your fingers out and begin looking past your fingers at the background or directly at your finger in a sort of zoned out way. So you're like this. So you're like this. In the exact way you looked at the red circle earlier. Okay, now as you look at your hand, see if a glow begins to appear around your fingers. It will start with a faint, clear glow and then expand out, get brighter, and even radiate color. Okay, once you have that down and you think you are seeing something, it is time to very slowly close your spread fingers and slowly open them. But leave a small gap the entire time and pay attention to the outline of your fingers and in between your fingers. The glow you see will move as your fingers are moving. The glow will move with your fingers. Another aspect of this is there is a small delay for the glow to realign to your fingers as you move them. This is an indication that what you are looking at is somehow connected to your fingers and is not a reflection of light or fuzz you might have otherwise perceived it to be. That glow you are seeing is the glow of your spirit and soul. Pretty cool, huh? Another cool way to see the delayed movement of the energy field is by using your cell phone. I better show you guys. Spin it around in circles like a round clock face, like this, is in front of you, and you are spinning the phone clockwise around its face with the phone flat on the clock's face. That's my instruction for people who can't actually see the movement. The top of the clock would be at about eye level, and the bottom of the clock would be around where your belly is. So while doing this motion, add an acceleration of speed that is pretty fast. And if you do it slow, you won't see it. And if you do it too fast, you might lose control of the phone. If you do it at a fast pace, but not too fast, you will see the residue of the phone as a trailing replica of floating light as you slow your movement down. You can see it realign back to the phone. If you hold the right amount of speed and movement, you can play with it and keep it away from realigning. It is hard to do though, but a fun game to play. Also, the phone screen should be brightly illuminated while performing this experiment. So you're going, I mean, you guys can't, my camera's not picking up the correct speed, but I think you guys understand. Yeah. The glow around objects. You can use the same technique to look at objects. Choose an object, maybe even something solid red to start, and place it between you and the background. You can use the same technique to see the blue glow just as you did before around the red circle. The glow around your body. Another thing you can do is stand in front of a mirror with a flat color background behind you, or turn on the camera on your computer or phone so that you can see yourself. And you use the same technique to see the glow around your whole body. Best way to do this is to look straight at the center between your eyes with a zoned out gaze, but with your awareness positioned to be ready for anything that might show up around your body. You could try this with other people as well. It would certainly be easier to have them stand against a flat color wall to look. Sometimes it is easy for me to look at my pastor at church and see the glow around him too. I just recently went to a conference and the lady speaking there had such a beautiful golden glow around her. It was like 2 inches out from her body and it was just gorgeous. And her husband had a silvery glow and still another speaker had a green glow around him. Okay, so the next step is to help increase your sight from not only seeing a faint clear glow around people, but color also. Thinking a thought versus observing with awareness. All right, I would like to now spend some time with giving some more tools to help hone and sharpen your skills with everything you just learned. As a result, the first step is getting a solid understanding on thought versus awareness. There's a difference between thinking a thought and just observing with awareness. Thinking a thought involves you thinking a thought with your audible spiritual voice. For example, if you say hello in your mind, you can hear the faint audible tone. That is an example of thinking a thought. Awareness, on the other hand, is where you're focused on something, but you're not speaking or hearing any of your own audible thoughts. A visual example for this would be to imagine you are sitting at a desk and there is a pencil on the desk. You could stare at it and think a thought in your mind, this is a number 2 pencil. This pencil is yellow with black writing on it. The lead on this pencil needs to be sharpened. This pencil is laying on the desk, and so on. All those thoughts are audible thoughts you are intentionally thinking. Now, let's say you look at the pencil on the desk, but this time you do not have a single thought in your mind that you are trying to think. But your eyes are open and you can still see the pencil. This means you are aware of it being on the desk, but not thinking a single thought about it being on the desk. So that is the difference between thinking a thought versus entering a state of awareness while doing the same exact thing. Now, it is important to understand that when you are in a state of awareness, not thinking any thoughts intentionally, you can still have thoughts present in your mind, but they are different than the intentional, rational thoughts you would normally be thinking. The things of the Spirit are so profound, and if we attempt to try to understand what is going on with our natural reasoning, we will normally begin to start thinking our own intentional thoughts to try to make sense of it. But the other way of thinking these thoughts is without your intentional control of those thoughts. Awareness is a thought that you are not intentionally thinking, but still allows you to perceive what you are observing. Imagine you never learned a single language. All you do is look at things without any rational association to what it is that you're looking at. You just see it. You are just aware of it. That is, in essence, what awareness is. So you are still thinking thoughts from the standpoint of observation, but since you do not know any language to associate these thoughts to, you are simply observing. Active focus versus passive observation. Let's talk a little bit about what active focus and passive observation means. Passive observation always follows active focus. Active focus is when you are thinking an intentional thought about something with an expectation that what you are thinking about is going to manifest in some way. Passive observation is when you decide to stop thinking about thoughts concerning what you just actively focused on. It does not mean that you need to completely clear your mind either. You can actually keep what you were previously actively focusing on within your awareness, but basically stop thinking about it. Just let it sit there in a sort of zoned out fashion. Here's a visual way to think about it. Let's say you are standing on a grassy knoll and looking up at the beautiful sky, and you imagine Jesus standing next to you. You speak to him and say, "Lord Jesus, this scene you have painted in the sky is so beautiful. I would love to see more of your beauty." That statement, "I would love to see more of your beauty," is an example of active focus. Then let's say at this time, as you are still in awe of the sky, and at the same time you decide to stop talking with Jesus for a moment to just enjoy his sky with a great expectation to see more, but without thinking any thoughts. This is an example of passive observation. And let's say a few seconds after you enter this state of mind, all of a sudden an eagle soars by. That would be an example of the result of passive observation. So with great expectation, you actively focused on asking Jesus for something more than what you already saw, and then relaxed with passive observation until something showed up, which in this case was the eagle. At this time, you could return to asking Jesus for more by repeating the active focus, passive observation method. Okay, you remember how we spoke about how the imagination is real? It's time to make use of that tool to increase your current activations. Okay, so let's say you are only seeing a faint glow around your hand, or an object, or a person, or anything really. You have the desire to increase what you see, but are not sure how to do that as of yet. So here's what you can do to really help with this. Start out by actively focusing on what you are currently seeing around your hand. Now, memorize what you saw, and either with your eyes open or closed, see it in your imagination. Now, think a thought using active focus with a desire to see more than what you are already seeing. Now, passively choose to observe, but try not to think any thoughts. Just wait to see if anything shows up. All of a sudden, you might see a faint color start to appear within your imagination, in addition to what you already saw around your hand. At this time, shift your focus out of your imagination to your actual physical hand and do the same practice. Look at your hand, see the current glow, and then actively desire to see what you just saw in your imagination. Then stop active focus and switch to passive observation, where you again are not thinking. At this time, you will likely see the colored glow around your hand with your physical eyes. If you desire to see more, simply repeat the steps, since this can get confusing quickly, repeat the steps. Since this can get confusing quickly, I'm going to write out steps. Number 1, look at your hand with your physical eyes with active focus, to see if there is a glow. 2, memorize what you are seeing. 3, switch your focus to the screen of your imagination. 4, duplicate within your imagination what you just memorized. 5, actively focus with expectation within your imagination to see more. Use your will. Number 6, while still looking in your imagination, switch to passive observation to see if anything else shows up around your hand. Let's say the glow you first saw was a grayish haze, and now you see a more vibrant, glowing blue around your hand within your imagination. 7. Now memorize the new blue glow along with everything else you saw before within your imagination. Number 8, switch focus back out to your physical hand, looking with physical eyes at your hand. Number 9, with active focus, duplicate what you've memorized in your imagination and expect it to show up around your physical hand. Number 10, switch to passive observation while still looking at your physical hand. Let's say the glow you saw in your imagination now shows up around your physical hand. Mission accomplished. Congratulations. You just took something from within your imagination and transferred it to visual focus within the physical realm. Expanding focus. Okay, so let's say you can now see glows and colors around objects and people, and that you are ready to begin expanding what you see. How about we start out by taking a trip outside to practice with nature? An example you might see is a tree outside with a solid blue sky above it. All right, now this part is pretty fun. Check it out. So go ahead and pick a leaf to look at. You will begin to see it glow. But that is not the fun part. The fun part is knowing that anything you choose to observe will begin glowing as a whole. So instead of focusing on the one leaf, try to focus on several leaves at one time. Do you see it? All of them are glowing. Now, if you look at, say, a forest in the background, for example, the top of the trees that make up the forest, you will see a glow around all of them. Excuse me. So in essence, your focus on what you desire to see is what will begin glowing. The focus of what you see is based upon what you intend to see, using active focus and passive observation techniques while entering the state of awareness without any rational thought. I would also like to add that there is a method with technology to see in this way as well. It is called Kirlian photography. And they have discovered that if a leaf is physically torn, yet looked at from a Kirlian standpoint, the leaf's glow still shows up fully intact in the spiritual, even though the physical is torn. The canvas of creation. The canvas of creation is the spiritual realm superimposed right on top of the physical realm. It is within this place of viewing and interacting that it is possible to begin seeing angels and interacting with them and other things of the spirit. I will go into more detail on this in another chapter. Do you remember when we were talking about the photons of light that were flashing into the physical realm and back out to the spiritual realm every 10th of a nanosecond? Do you also remember when we were talking about those photons being likened to screen pixels and how we expanded the example of this to virtual reality where the pixels are all around you? If not, I would recommend going back to that part for a refresher. If you do remember it, let's begin practicing being able to see this with your physical eyes. Let's start by dimming your lights down so that it is more dark than it is light. Choose a wall or an object to look at. Actually, you know what? I'm going to turn off this light so you guys can see on my screen. You can't really see the snowing part. What happens if I cover this? No. Well, if you look really closely, you can see like the pixels of light. The book explanation is a lot better than my petty explanation I just attempted to give. Let's see, where am I? Let's start by dimming your lights down so that it is more dark than it is light. Choose a wall or an object to look at. Now think about the air between you and the object. Become aware of this air. Instead of staring at the object, even though your eyes are pointed that direction, instead choose to look at the actual air. As you look at this, use active focus to expect to see something more than just transparent air. Expect to see what looks like television snow. Now, television snow is black and white, and what you're looking for is blue and red. What you are looking for is not possible to by itself be seen with the naked eye. But because there are so many billions of them grouped and connected together, you will have the ability with almost no problem to be able to see them. The group of them will look like a sort of fog, a colored fog, since they are everywhere at all times. It would be safe to say that this cloud is likewise everywhere and connected to everything. I will say that when you are beginning, if you try to look at it in a room with lots of light, it will be almost impossible to see. It takes practice before this happens, which is why I ask you to start by dimming the lights. Yeah. Once your mind is able to accept this, another layer of your spiritual vision will be unveiled. You will be able to see it everywhere you go. You could even close your eyelids and still see it. Now, a fear may come in that if your eyes are open to see this, will you see it all the time? The answer is no, you will not. But yes, you can when you choose to see it. When you choose to focus on it, it will immediately show up to visible appearance for you to look at. So really quick, remember how we were talking about an infinite scale of frequencies and how you can hear certain radio stations based upon what frequency you tune in on? That is the range of audible frequencies that you can hear. As a result, we can now consider all these new layers we have been going over to increase spiritual sight as visual frequencies. So we are just moving up on the scale, examining a different range of frequencies that lives within the same scale. One part of the scale is audible, and still another is visual. And when I say visual, I'm not talking about color and visible things we see every day. I'm talking about moving even further up the scale from visual sight to what would otherwise be considered as invisible. Until after the completion of these exercises, it has now become visible as we properly tune into this frequency range. In future chapters, I will go over more of this application, or more over the application of what you can do with the canvas of creation, as opposed to just switching it in and out of visible appearance. All right, I'm going to end this, and I might do another chapter and might not. I suppose I'll do one more chapter. I'm going to say goodnight to my wife though first. All right, I love you guys, and have a wonderful night until the next couple minutes.